Yo, what is going on? It's your boy Anubis, the Gamer Archer here with a brand new video for you guys today. And today we're going to do our season review for Halo TV series season 1. Now for this video, we're going to talk about the entire season. We're not going to do individual episodes, anything like that. We did episode 1 because it was the first episode. We also did a video about kind of the reactions I see people having towards the show. So you can watch both of those at the end of this video if you want to. And I have them linked at the end, as well as, it'd be a playlist for all this kind of stuff for Halo. But today's video I want to do, I want to kind of give my thoughts on the overall feel of the show. So I want to talk about the writing, the CGI, the acting, and how I just felt about the show itself. And I might throw in some comments about how the community's acting towards it as well, just throw it in there. But I'll also end it with my overall opinion, overall review score, so to speak, for the show. And when I say that, I'll do it, make it very perfectly freaking clear. This entire video is my opinion. Your opinion is likely to be different from mine, and that's entirely okay. I'm a firm believer in respecting opinions if they're well structured opinions and have good reasons behind opinions, and not just something's bad because I said it's bad or something's good because I say it's good, but have actual valid reasons behind it where it's like, all right, that's understandable on why you would dislike this or not like that. Currently right now there's a lot of gatekeeping in Halo when it comes to not just the game itself, but also the TV show, where there's people on Twitter who are saying if you're a true Halo fan you will hate that show, basically telling people you can't like this show and like Halo at the same time. It's a mess. It's narcissistic comments, it's toxic, and there's nothing different from Halo. Halo has a very toxic gamer base. But anyways, the TV show, we're here about the show, not about Halo fans. So this is about the last episode. The last episode was pretty good. It delivered on the sense of completing what they were setting up from the first episode to that point. But at the same time, it left enough there to where you're curious on what happens next. I'm not gonna this is a spoiler-free video, by the way. So we're not gonna talk about a lot of the fine details. But the way the last episode ends is gives you a small cliffhanger in a way of, all right, what's going to happen in the next season? What's going to happen when it comes to Cortana? What's going to happen when it comes to Master Chief? What's going to happen with Halsey? What's going to happen with the entirety of the UNSC, and where does the Covenant go from here as well? There's so much that could happen for the next season. And yes, it is getting a second season. Season 2 started making confirmed when the first episode launched. According to statistics, Paramount Plus has said that this show has been a smash hit, and they are very, very happy with the overall viewership that the show has gotten. But the last episode was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I don't think there was any moment of it where I was not engaged or immersed by it. I don't think there's any moment where I didn't enjoy what I was looking at. I think the pacing was pretty good. That's kind of something that I don't mention about the show in general. This show has very good pacing. And when I say pacing, understand what I mean by that is it doesn't feel like it's a slog, or it doesn't feel like it's very slow. It's about what, 45 minutes long, maybe 50 minutes long. And you go through that time pretty fast. The pacing gets so good where you don't notice how quick the episodes are actually ending. And there's some TV shows out there where they're hour-long TV shows, and it feels like a fucking hour. It feels like you're just sitting there watching forever, and it's boring moments throughout a TV show where you're just like, all right, pick up the pace. Where the Halo TV show has had a good pace each episode, where it's like, all right, this is moving at a very, very good pace. Writing wise for the entire show has been decent. It hasn't been amazing. You're not going to get blown out of the water by the screenplay and the dialogue of the show, but it has been pretty decent. There hasn't been any moments of the show where I was like, all right, that line sounded terrible, or that line sounded cheesy, or anything of that nature. So it's been a mostly good writing and screenplay, in my opinion. The dialogue has been pretty solid, especially when it comes to Cortana. Jen Taylor, who's always amazing and always will be amazing. She's been Cortana since day one. 20 years of her being Cortana, and when it comes to her in Chief, it sounds like the game. You get that game atmosphere of where you hear her speaking, and only Chief is reacting to her, and it's kind of doing their own thing, where it's a one-on-one conversation within Chief's head. And you get that sense here, kind of how you get it in the games. Yeah, there's moments in the game where Cortana will be displayed on, you know, visual display ports, and you know everyone else can see her and talk to her and listen to her, things like that. And the show does the exact same thing. But when it's just Chief and Cortana, you get that feeling that you get from the video games when it's just Chief and Cortana. And when it comes to Master Chief, I think Pablo Schreiber did a very good job. He's a very good Master Chief. I think he hit out the park. He did exactly what they wanted him to do when it comes to, you know, the directing of the show. You know, is there things that could have been better for the show entirely? Clearly, there's no such thing as a perfect TV show. There's no such thing as a perfect, you know, writing or perfect actor, anything of that nature. My favorite TV show of all time is 24. Even 24 had its flaws, even though most people consider 24 to be one of the top 10 greatest shows of all time. So even that show wasn't perfect. So there's things here that's not perfect, but generally, you know, when it comes to the two biggest important things, Master Chief, Cortana, those two things were solid. There's like no complaints. When it comes to Miranda, I think Miranda in the TV show is more interesting than Miranda in the video game. And the key word here is the video game. I don't want anyone mentioning the freaking like, well, Miranda's a little bit better in the books, obviously. When it comes to comparing the video games to the TV show, I think Miranda in the show is way better. I think she has more character development, which is kind of the point. This isn't, you know, Miranda how she is in Halo 2. This is a Halo 2 Miranda where she's already an established captain, or she's already, you know, established in UNSC and is a big, you know, important character who you know replaces her father in Halo Mythos, essentially, because, you know, Captain Keyes dies in the first game, and Halo 2 you get his daughter, you know. So you already have this strong character who isn't really like really getting built up. She just exists and is just doing all this stuff. She's an expert in, you know, Covenant technology and Covenant language, but she's just here. Whereas in the TV show, Miranda grows. You know, she's not that very confident, strong character she is in Halo 2. She's, you know, younger. She's a little less confident. She has a little bit more emotion, and she's just better acted, which is very good. So the character development from Miranda has been very, very solid. And you're going to hear me mention the word emotion a lot in this video, because the Halo TV show is a very emotion-driven show. There's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of drama, and I feel like that's kind of like the big takeaway for people who don't understand how story works, is that a lot of people who play the Halo video games, most of them didn't read the books to begin with, but they don't understand that you have to have emotion and drama at a balance with the actual storytelling itself for a movie and a TV show. You can't just have, you know, how the story is played in the video games, because the casual audience won't care. You know, the casual audience cares about drama, they care about emotions, they care about the human element of story. Video gamers don't give a shit. A lot of gamers, I won't say all, a lot of gamers don't care about drama, they don't care about emotion, they don't care about story. A lot of people just play multiplayer games and that's it, and they may play the single player game of any game, you know, maybe once just to try it out, but mostly their time is spent playing the multiplayer. They don't really care about, especially when it comes to like the silent protagonist, when it comes to like Master Chief, they don't want him being emotional, which is why you've seen some people freaking have a dislike towards Halo 4's cutscenes, because there's so much emotion in Halo 4's cutscenes. Ironically, my favorite Halo story mode is Halo 4, because of, you know, all the cutscenes and how much emotion was put there, because I like story. I like something that's well written. I like seeing, you know, the characters in a way that's more drawn out and not just, you know, at face value. Again, my favorite game of all time other than Halo is Mass Effect, and Mass Effect, Dragon Age, you know, a lot of Bioware games, Elder Scrolls from Bethesda, those are dialogue heavy games where there's a lot going on for the character, and it's not just someone wandering around, shoot things and people in your ear. And a lot of people, that's kind of what they experience when it comes to Halo. I experience more than that when it comes to Halo, because I look deeper than, you know, what's just there at face value. And the TV show does a good job at expanding, you know, what's there. And before I get to like the other characters, you know, this isn't a scripted video, so therefore I might just like hop around. But when it comes to how this TV show compares to the books and how it compares to the TV show, you have to understand that when it comes to creator freedom, and you don't really want to follow the exact same path, because if you follow me, I think it's before my first video, as well as my video about, you know, the negativity towards the show, is that when you have all these different paths, you don't want to follow the exact same path, because if you do, what's the point? Why would someone watch your TV show if you're just going to follow the exact same path as video games? why would you make a TV show if you're going to follow the exact same path as the books, or Halo Nightfall, or Halo Legends, or Halo Warranted On? And for me personally, when I see any form of content, I want to see someone else's interpretation on what I enjoy, not the exact same thing. I want to see someone else's interpretation on it. A comparison I'll make here is The Witcher. The Witcher TV show isn't based off the Witcher video games. So if you're a big Witcher fan of the video games, you might not like the TV show because it's not the same thing. It's also not 100% based off the books. It borrows from the books a bit, it draws inspiration from the books, but it's not 100% based on the books. So if you read the books, you might not like the show because of that. You might not care about the show or the video game. It's your first time you know The Witcher even exists, and you're like, hey, this is a pretty good show. Netflix called The Witcher, and it's like, oh, that's based on a video game in a book series. Is it? I don't care. That's also possible. You have to have this idea, or this, you have to be aware of how many different people are going to watch something. Some people don't care about video games. Some people don't care about books. Some people have Paramount Plus and they saw this science fiction TV show and watched it and enjoyed themselves and don't care that it's based off of a video game or a book. But gamers, small-minded, very narrow-minded, tunnel vision, want things to be based solely on the source material. See things with comics as well. You see with comic books, people want things to be based on the source material, and that's it. And it's like, things are better when they use the source material as, basically a bulletin. This is what the end game is, or this is what we're working with. But let's strip that down to the bare bones and then go from there, which is what Marvel does. Marvel takes an identity and they expand upon that, and it's been working. So if it works for Marvel, don't you think other studios are going to see that and try to mimic the exact same thing of taking a material, not focusing so much on the sources itself, and just be free with the idea of what they want to go with? Marvel would be very boring if they just followed the books. Marvel would be very boring to just follow what's already there. It works better because Kevin Feige and the studio have an idea, and they let their idea birth us these good content. And now you can say, that's cool and all, but I don't like the content that was birthed by Paramount, Showtime, and the showrunners that when it comes to the Halo 2 show. That's fine, do you, boo-boo. But you have to be open-minded to understanding why they make the decisions that they make. You have to be open-minded to understanding of why they're going with all this drama, all this story, all this emotion, which is very, very prominent within the show. So going back and talk about the characters, because I did kind of like go on a tangent, was talk about Miranda to just rant about other stuff. I don't think there's any characters in the TV show who I disliked. I found Quan kind of boring, and I didn't see a purpose for her to be there, and that would be a downside of some of the writing, and as well as the voice, I must say the voice actor, but the actor herself, where it seemed like she was just there just to be there. And the dialogue for Quan, after a while, it just kind of became, it's like, why is she here? What is Quan like? We had an episode that was basically a exposition up on Quan and her family, and it's like, we don't care. If there's any big negative point of the TV show for me, it's Quan, because it's I don't care for you. I don't care about anything involving you. Soren was cool. Soren's story and all the things he was going through when it comes to his family, and there's this guy, again, not going to a lot of spoilers, but it was this guy who basically thought he could replace Soren as his this head captain on this freaking planet or asteroid, I forgot what it was. He was cool. But when it came down to Quan, it was I don't really care about this character. So then you have Halsey, who I think was perfect. I think Halsey in this show was flawless. Her actress, I think her name's Natasha. She played in Designated Survivor. She was great in Designated Survivor. She played Keith Sutherland's wife in Designated Survivor. She was great as Halsey. And what I liked about it is there's kind of a little bit of that video game Halsey in there too, where it's she's very, very strategic, and she does things basically for herself. And but they kind of fast tracked a lot of the late game Halsey at the beginning of this show, because at the beginning, at late game Halo, Halsey is Matt, she's wanted by the UNSC. You know, she literally sides with a terrorist named Julian Dama. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's been a while since I played Halo 4. This isn't like Halo 4's Spartan Ops, where like she loses her arm and you know she sides with Julian Dama. And I kind of think that also leads to Halo 5 as well. But like she's doing all this stuff and she's wanted, and kind of like in Halo Reach, she's like in prison. So you know you have that there too. But in the TV show, you know, you have all the stuff that's going on with Halsey, and it's like this is so good. Like it's such good content. It's like I enjoy it. Like they said they didn't look at the game for inspiration, but I do think they definitely like looked at the books, and also think they took inspiration from a lot of the developers at 343 as well. You know, just to get their input, pick their brain on how things went, what we're gonna go, and it was just really good when it came down to Halsey. I think Silver Team generally was great, but I do think there's one person in Silver Team who stood out more than the rest, and that was kind of intentional. And now, before I get into that, I do want to like mention how when the TV show first came out with the first episode, a lot of people complain about how they feel like if you're going to do this story where it's not based off the video games, it's not 100% based off the books, it's their own interpretation of the Halo mythos, then have a brand new character, not Master Chief. I feel like we definitely got that though. I feel like we got both. There's a thought process. Can I get this or can I get that? How about both? We got Master Chief, the pinnacle of the series, and we also got a brand new character who basically gets birthed into the mythos and become a fan favorite, who becomes loved and developed over time. And that person was Kai. Kai is amazing. Like her actress did a phenomenal job. I think her name is Kate Kennedy. Or Kat Kennedy. Apologies for getting wrong. It's Kate Kennedy. Because again, I don't have a script, so I'm not looking at anything to figure it out, people's names. But she was phenomenal. Like, and her writing was great, and everything they did with Kai was just insane. It was so good. Kai herself was great, and they made us care about Kai by doing a very basic thing, but it worked. The basic way that they wrote Kai's character is to constantly have Kai in danger and constantly have us thinking that she's going to die, and then she doesn't die. But that's only spoiler key, is that she doesn't die, but like it constantly happens throughout the show where Kai seems like she's going to like get fucked up or die or be put out of action, but she's fine, and it builds you up to that. Then the payoff for it is, all right, this new character who we're all falling for, because I feel like a lot of people who enjoy the show definitely are liking Kai. From what I see on at least what I'm seeing on Twitter, a lot of people who like the show, they're feeling Kai, and it's like, all right, she's safe. We don't have to get mad at the fact that they kill off a character we like. She's just great. Like her actress is great. The writing for Kai is great. And again, it's just basic stuff. Another typical view of like a basic way of writing that they did, where there was a scene in the show where they basically had Kai lifting a lot of stuff, trying to like basically test her strength. She's showing all these Marines how strong a Spartan is. She's lifting cars and lifting these heavy things. And if you don't know about script writing or writing in general, you're like, what's the point? Who cares? Why are they showing us, this chick lifting stuff? This is pointless information. This is pointless scenes. Take this camera back to Master Chief. And then later in that show, what happens? Kai gets put in a situation where she has to show her off her strength. She gets tied up behind a very, very, very durable, strong, heavy piece of concrete, and she has to get free. In order to do that, she displays her strength. Build up, payoff. They're building up, hey, look how strong Kai is, and they pay it off by showing Kai showing off her strength. And in the last episode, they show it again. In the last episode, they show you Kai being very, very strong. So there's just it's very simple writing right there, but it's very good at the exact same time. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do something like that, but the payoff and the build up. Because there's a saying about something being so simple to where if you get it wrong, it's a massive flop, but if you get it right, it just feels right. And that's what we got when it came to Kai's storytelling. So then you have Mikey, whatever her name was. She was just there. Like, I don't think she was a bad character. I don't think her actress did a bad job, but she was just barely better than Quan. Like, barely. Like, she was just her importance to the story was more so of a plot device to just drive things forward. But outside of that, you didn't really care about her. And I kind of feel like that's kind of like the detachment people have between, you know, seeing Chief and her basically fall in love with each other, is that you see this character, Master Chief, who has all this build up, and he's falling in love with this character who we don't really feel attached to as a community. Like if Master Chief fell in love with Kai, I think we'd have bought into it, because just like Chief, she removed her inhibitor that makes it to where she can't feel emotions. So now, just like Chief, she feels all these emotions and whatnot. So it makes more sense if you had like her and Chief, you know, basically fall in love, because she's experiencing the same thing Chief's experienced when it comes to like all these rush of emotions, and she's also a Spartan and things like that. I feel like people will buy into it more because it's another Spartan and you're on the same team, versus him falling in love with, you know, this human who was captured by the Covenant and basically became a anti-human person who hate the humans and was hoping the Covenant, you know, kill a bunch of humans. But other than that, she wasn't terrible. I don't want to say that, like, she wasn't terrible, but there's a piece of detachment there when it came to you, the viewer, and her character, and it kind of just like with Quan, where it becomes a point where a lot of the times that she's on your screen, you don't care if she's on your screen. So then you have Captain Keyes. Captain Keyes, well acted, but I think he suffered from the Joe West syndrome, that's what they call it. The Joe West syndrome, for those who watch the Flash TV show, is basically having a black dude who cries a lot. Now, he doesn't cry a lot, but there's a lot of emotion from this Captain Keyes, and it's kind of like whenever you watch the Flash, whenever they show Joe, it always seems like Joe's about to cry. Captain Keyes in the TV show, whenever they show Captain Keyes, he always seems like he's about to cry. It's like, all right, we get it. You want to show that men have emotions. You want to show that, you know, this guy who's a captain in the UNSC, he's this massive character in the mythos. You want to show that he too, you know, has emotion. And the UNSC isn't, you know, this barbaric, you know, political entity that it appears to be in the TV show, because this guy is, you know, emotional. We get it. I don't think his acting was bad. I don't even think the story involving him was bad. I just feel like we don't need, there's too much emotion going on. Like, I don't mind emotion, I like it, but it's too much. There's too many avenues. Miranda's showing him a lot of emotion, Chief's showing a lot of emotion, Kai showing a lot of emotion, Mikey's showing a lot of emotion, Captain Keyes is showing a lot of emotion, Halsey shows none, Cortana's starting to show emotion, you know, the other two Spartans, Riz and Jesus, Vanek, are, you know, they're not showing emotion, but like, just the ones who are showing emotion are showing a lot of it. So like, it could be, if you're not into all that drama and all the emotion, it could be a huge turn off for you. So let's talk about the obvious one though, the sex scene. It wasn't really a sex scene. Let's be honest when it comes to that. It wasn't really a sex scene, but Chief had sex with Mikey, or Makey, again, I don't remember how to pronounce her name, and that was like a talking point for about 2 weeks, and it shouldn't have been. It's just sex, you know. Like, again, I said it before, I made a joke about it, like, you can tell who the virgins are in the gaming community by making it a big deal, or people who at least mentally just are out of it, or like they make a big deal out of a sex scene. It's like, it's just a scene. What I will also say is this is, you know, not about the scene. If you didn't enjoy the Halo TV show, cool. Don't shame other people for enjoying it. You know, like, that's so toxic and stupid. If you don't like something, don't watch it. Go watch something else. It's literally that simple. Don't try to like bully people into not liking it because you don't like it. You know, stop. Like I said before, there's a lot of influencers like Angry Joe and the Act Man, who are like basically trying to say that nobody who likes Halo wants this show. There are people out there basically saying that, you know, like, the real fans don't want the show, and who is this show for? It's not for the fans. And it's like, stop speaking for everybody, because you're not everybody. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter who are Halo fans who enjoyed the TV show. I myself, someone who's been playing Halo since it first came the fuck out, every single year. I replay through the main games every single year for 20 years. When a new game comes out, I replay through that too, add it to the rotation. I've read the books, read the comics. I've watched Until Dawn. I've watched Halo Legends. I watched Halo Nightfall. I've rewatched them. I watched the Eternals that are within in the game. I'm a massive Halo fucking fan. My favorite video game franchise of all time is Halo. I enjoy the show. There's other people who are similar to me who also enjoy the show. Just because you don't doesn't mean other people can't. Just don't watch it. And don't give this bullshit excuse that I'm a content creator, I have to watch it. If you watched the first episode and you thought it was trash, why the fuck did you watch 8 more episodes? To me, that's not logical at all. You watch 8 more episodes after you said the first one was trash? I get watching like at least, you know, maybe episode 2, so you're like, all right, maybe the first episode was bad, let's see how this is. But after the first episode or 2, you should have an idea, all right, this isn't for me. Which is okay. If something's not for you, it's not for you. Move on. Just move on. If it's not for you, move on. That's okay. Everything doesn't have to be made for everyone. We have this discussion about accessibility. Everything doesn't have to be for everyone. It's impossible to please 8 billion people on this fucking planet. So you can't make things for everyone. If it's not for you, move on. For the show that's out, if people are talking about it, it's popular, but I watch an episode or 2 of it, and I'm like, all right, I'm not feeling this episode. Guess what I do? I go watch something else. I don't force myself to watch something because it's popular at all. I literally just like, all right, I don't like that. Watch something else. Go watch something else. It's that simple. It's not hard to do. You don't have to like shit on the actors or the directors or the showrunners or people who enjoy the show themselves because you don't enjoy it. Go watch something else. Go watch Nightfall. Did you like Halo Nightfall? Or did you hate that too? Did you like Halo Until Dawn, or did you hate that too? Or did you like Legends, or did you hate that too? Because I know a lot of y'all just hate anything. Y'all are just very negative people who just hate anything and everything that exists because you just can't be happy. You know, and this community is just so toxic and terrible. I made a tweet about it before about when it came to like the Star Wars community, how it's like it shouldn't take 15 years for people to enjoy the prequels, but now everyone enjoys the prequels because 15 years later we're all older and more mature. We all love Hayden Christensen. We all love McGregor now. Can't wait for the Kenobi show. We're all happy now, and you know they're also coming out in interviews saying that they get so much love nowadays. And they feel like guess we had to be patient because both of them they were getting depressed and kind of hated Star Wars because of how the community acted towards it. We're doing the same thing here with Halo. All of this toxicity and hatred in the Halo community towards this show. It's going to make all the actors in Hollywood as a whole just not give a fuck about the Halo fan base and not give a fuck about making anything else about Halo. But like, all right, just wash our hands of this. We don't want to deal with this fan base that doesn't even allow their own community to enjoy something. Anyways, I went on a rant right there. Apologies. Halo TV show, 9 episodes, season 1, pretty good. I would give it on a scale of 1 to 10. I'd say a 7. I'd say a 6 or a 7 is fair. But like more than a 7 will be a little bit much. The CGI was pretty bad. Wasn't great. I feel like CGI would be better in the future when it comes to season 2. Because I feel like I said in my first video looking at the Halo TV show that I feel like because they didn't know what to expect when it came to fan reaction, they didn't want to blow the budget when it came to CGI. So a lot of TV shows, when they don't know what to do, that's not the right words to you. When they don't know if they'll get a second season. They don't know if they get a 3rd season. They don't know what the future is for the show. They don't want to just go all out with their CGI because they don't even know if they get another season. So they want to, basically cheap it out a little bit to make sure, everything else is good and that they can afford to have one season before they even think about another season. So CGI could have been better. I feel, again, I said Quan was boring. Just that kind of takes some off of it. Didn't really care about Mikey, even though she's not terrible. Just there's a disconnect. But other than that, I feel like there's so much about this show that I enjoyed, and I'm going to keep watching it, even though the season just ended. I'm likely going to rewatch it. This is definitely a show that I'm going to keep my watch list on Paramount Plus. I haven't even watched Paramount Plus since it's been a while because I usually watch it for soccer. So I haven't been watching any TV shows on Paramount Plus. Now I have a TV show that I can watch Paramount Plus, and I want to rewatch it. It's definitely going to stay in my watch list. I enjoyed it. I can't wait for season 2. I'm looking forward to it. Everyone involved on that staff, GG's. All the actors, GG's. It's a good show. I enjoyed it. But all I said, though, that's it for me. This video ran on long enough. We're at half an hour. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Y'all be safe. Be kind to one another. You have a good weekend. Being boy, Anubis the Gamer Archer. Follow me on Twitch. Link in the description below. Monday to Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern. Been playing Halo, the last stream, playing Star Wars games, last stream, variety streamer for those that don't know. But yeah, show me some love only over there. I'll catch you in the next one. Running out of breath. I'm out of here. Anubis. Deuces.